Which Camino? If you're planning your first Camino, you might be thinking, well, but there is only one Camino, isn't there? No. There's many. In fact, there's well over 30, I think. And that's what we're going to be talking about this week. And I'm going to show you how to find out more about them. Coming right up. So this video is going to be of interest to people probably who haven't walked a Camino yet, but you're seriously thinking of walking one. And the Camino you've probably heard of is the Camino Frances. That's just one of many, and I'm going to show you how many there are in a moment. It's the most popular one, and I'll explain why as we look through some of the other Caminos. But what I'm going to show you is a website, which if you're English you might call Gronze. I'm not sure how you would pronounce it in Spanish, maybe Gronze, but GRONZE.com. And we're going to jump right over here and I'm going to show you this amazing website. Okay, so here we are on Gronze.com. And we can see it's basically a planning website where we can look at all the various stages of each Camino. And if we go to the drop down here for Caminos, we've got Todos los Caminos. I'll turn this into English in a second, but I just want you to have a look at this map. So these are all of the Caminos ending in Santiago de Compostela, northwest Spain. They come from all over the place. So the main one, hopefully you can see my cursor here, is the Camino Frances because it starts in southern France. That's one of the most popular ones. Why is that? Well, it's the one that most people have heard about. It's the one in the books. It's the one in the movies. And to be honest, for a first Camino, it's probably a very wise choice because there's lots of people walking it. So what that means is there's lots and lots of infrastructure. There's lots of different types of accommodation and places to eat. Whereas some of the others have you got far fewer options. So the Camino Frances is probably the most popular. It is the most popular. I'm not quite sure. I think Camino Portuguese would be the next one. So coming up from Lisbon or Porto up to Santiago. The next most popular one is probably going to be one of the ones coming along the north. I mean, you can look these up, but maybe the Norte or the Ingles. And then you've got all these other ones. If you're up for a really long distance Camino, you could start in Le Puy in France. You could start in Paris. Last time I was in Paris, I actually saw the start point. I thought, wow, I feel like walking. And then you've got many different ones, all starting in different areas of Spain. So how do you decide which one to walk? Well, if you're a first-time pilgrim, first-time Camino walker, there's a lot to be said for the Frances. It's easy to follow. There's lots and lots of guidebooks written about it. You'll meet lots of people if that's what you want. Infrastructure's great. And it's probably a really good beginner Camino. Having said that, lots of people keep walking it. I've walked it 3 times. I really love the Camino Frances. Next time I'm going to try something a little bit different because I just want to have a slightly different experience. So in fact, if we look at the map here, the one I'm going to walk next is the Plata on this map, the Via de la Plata, the silver route. And I'll be starting in Seville, heading north. And then this one branches off. I can either rejoin the Camino Frances here, it rejoins in Astorga, or I can sort of swing to the west and take I think that one's called the Sanabres, and take that one into Santiago. Or there's even another option. I may go up north to the Camino Frances because I would love to walk that section again from Astorga to Ponferrada. And then at Ponferrada, I can swing off onto another one, the Invierno, which is a much less traveled one through the countryside. So I guess I just wanted to show you this map, and this website is really good because you can have a look at each of these Caminos just to show you how many there are. So if you're a first-timer, the Frances, the Portuguese are very popular first-time ones. If you're adventurous and you don't mind being on your own a lot of the day, if you don't mind sort of turning up in the evening and maybe there's just one choice of places to stay and maybe you're the only person staying there, then some of the more remote routes. So a lot of people have walked, the Llana, Levant. Some of these ones sort of from the east coast of Spain are a lot less travelled. The Via de la Plata, you get quite a few people on there at certain times of the year, I think. That's the one that I'll be doing next. But there's so many to pick from. So if you're thinking, I'd like to go and walk a Camino, next question is which one? So you can start researching that. Now, the other thing I want to show you on this website, I really love this website. So let's say we're going to walk the Via de la Plata, and I'll just hit Plata, and then it will come up with all of the stages. Now, let me just say, stages are not compulsory, they're not obligatory. Any stages that you see on websites or guidebooks are just examples of how the whole Camino is broken up into manageable chunks. So, for example, I'm starting to plan a very rough plan, because plans never last. Things always happen, but a conceptual plan of how many days I'll need to walk the Via de la Plata. And some of these stages are a little bit long for me. My legs are not that great. So stage 4 here is 33.6. I can go in here and look at the intermediate towns and villages and start to sort of plan my own journey. But this is, a really good start point because it's all broken down into stages for you. Now, I tend to look at this in Spanish myself, only because the names of the Caminos and the towns and so on are more familiar in Spanish. You can actually, of course, if you look at this on Google Chrome, convert the whole thing to English. So let's just do that, if I can remember where to do it. So we go into settings, and then we come across to the advanced settings. We go into language. And then it's up here under language and offer to translate the pages. There we go. So I'll just close that. And then if I refresh that page again, let's go into English. Yep, and it's now translated into English. This is really handy, of course, when you're walking. Of course, you could translate it into whatever language you prefer. So a lot of these, websites with online guides and so on, really useful because you can have a look at that on your phone as you're going. So let's have a look. Overall, here's the map. We're going from Seville. We're going north through these towns. Mérida, I'm not sure how you pronounce that one. Cáceres, would it be? Salamanca, Zamora, and then up to Santiago de Compostela. You'll note as you go down here, all of the stages are listed, and we can look at that in a minute. But here, on a lot of the Caminos, it will give you options. So we can walk as far as Morerulla Farm, excuse my pronunciation, and then we might head up towards the Camino Frances, so to Astorga. Or we might go on the Camino Sanabres, which is this one, and then it branches again. So we can take different routes into Santiago. So let's just have a look at one of these and we'll dive into one. Let's pick that long one, stage 4. And as you dive into each page, you get this nice little map. So you can see where the villages are and the intermediate distances. So this one would be quite a challenge for me because I struggle to walk that distance, but I can see I've got a 13.6k, that'd be a bit of a short day. I could break it into 13.6 and a 20, or I'll press on and do the 33. I can see the accommodation listed in each of the towns and villages. So we've got, it's one of the reasons I look at this in Spanish, because the hostel names and things, I'd rather see them in Spanish because that's what I'm going to see when I'm walking. Like the Clock House Hostel. I wonder what that's really called. We want to see that in Spanish. And we can see that each of these towns has quite a few places to stay in. Let's pick another one. And just as an example, I'm just doing these at random. Let's pick, I seem to remember this one from Grimaldo is a bit of a challenge. So here, look, we've got some options. It gives us a little bit of a description at the top, what the route is like, all the intermediate distances. It's given us an option here. We can go to Rio Lobos, go through that way, to Galisteo, or we can stay on the sort of main route here. I was reading online, some people were suggesting going up this way. That's the Calzada Romana, that's an old Roman road. And we can see, oh, look, there's a medieval bridge, Puente Medieval. And here again, we've got all the places listed. And there's a number of ways that you could tackle, obviously, your accommodation walking any Camino. You might say, well, this place looks all right. I'm going to intentionally pick one that's not on booking.com. So we've got this tourist hostel. Let's click on one of those. My mouse is deciding not to work. There we go. And we come on to a little page for each of the accommodation options. We've got an email, which is handy if you wanted to contact them. We've got a phone. It will generally say how many places there are. So there's 8 beds in this place, and we can see where it is. So there's lots of information. 12 people like it and 2 didn't. So there's even a little bit of feedback. Closing time's 10 o'clock. So make sure you're in before the doors get locked. So it gives you some basic information. And then also, if you're this way inclined, you can see for some of these, you can actually click on the booking.com link, which is handy if you are one of these people who wants to book ahead. I wouldn't recommend booking too far ahead because your plans might change. But here we can see, this is quite a good place. You could book it online if you wanted. You can have a single room, double room, all the normal stuff. I'm sure you've seen booking.com. So that's the sort of information that you get on the Granthe website. Let's just come back to the French way, which is one of the most popular ones. And if you're new to Caminos, this might be one that you're going to look at. Let's have a look at the difference at some of the maps. So for example, there's actually not a lot between Roncesvalles and Zubiri. There's a couple of villages. There's Bicicleta and a couple of other places. Let's have a look. So there we go. We're going through Bergueta, Espinal, Bicicleta. So a few different places you can stay. Same sort of thing. What you'll find on the Camino Frances, if you're planning your first Camino, as I mentioned, there's lots and lots more villages. Most of the villages will have places to stay. Siroña, that's an interesting place. I'll digress. That was, it's like one of these new towns that was built around a golf course. This, you see the Rioja Alta golf course, and hardly anyone lives there. So it's like you walk through this ghost town. And Santo Domingo, there'll be loads and loads of places listed here. So there we've got all the Najera places listed, and then Azofra, Plum, I don't remember, Plum, where's that? Is that on the Camino or just off it? And then Santo Domingo, and then we can see more down here, loads and loads of different places, and it gives you obviously an indication of the cost. These may not be bang up to date, of course, but it gives you an idea. So looking at some of these, we can see there's some, you'll get a bed in these hostels, albergues, for 11 euros or 9 euros, both closed by the looks of it. I hope they reopen. And then you've got the various other types of accommodation here where, it's a single room or a double room. These will generally all have, private bathrooms and stuff, but if you go and have a look at the individual ones, you can see here, single room, double room, triple room, quadruple room. They've even got a website, so they've got 5 rooms, and you can book it through booking.com, or you could go to their website. You could ring them up. Let's have a look at their website. I don't know this one. It's in, it looks all right, doesn't it? The hostel. So very, this is all based on just looking at the Granthe website. So these sorts of places are not that expensive. So you get a single room for 24 euros, which is really good value. And a lot of people who maybe are staying in albergues and the hostels for 10 or 12 euros a night, they might find they're not getting a great sleep with lots of people sort of in the dormitory, and sometimes maybe they'll opt for private accommodation. If you're walking with someone, you could jump in there. You're going to get a double room for 34. If you're sharing a room, it's not a lot more than an albergue, really. So just some ideas there on accommodation. But the main thing I wanted to show you was just this amazing website where you can see all of the Caminos and just how many there are. So if you're thinking about walking the Camino, there's some things to think about. One, if it's your first time, do you want one that's really going to be quite easy in terms of finding lodging and finding your way and having that sense of other people around you? Then, you know, the more popular ones, the Frances, the Portuguese, the Norte, perhaps English. If you are more adventurous and used to traveling on your own and quite happy to be walking all day in the countryside, totally on your own, maybe staying on your own in the evenings in different places, then some of those remote ones might be the ones for you. The other thing to consider, of course, is the time period that you have to walk. So a lot of people, unfortunately, can only get maybe a couple of weeks to walk a Camino. So many people, for example, will walk the same Camino every year, but, you know, sort of moving along it in 2-week blocks. That's a good way to do it. Alternatively, if you want to do a complete Camino, you might pick a shorter one that you can walk in 2 weeks. If you're able to get much more time off, then that's great. I'm very lucky in that position. I can't get time off every year, but when I take time off, I can take big chunks of time. So I'm planning to do the Via de la Plata, and I'm going to allow myself something like 55 days to do it. Most people do it in 35 to 40. I'm a bit slow. I don't want to take my time on that one. So some of those longer ones, obviously you need a big block of time if you want to do it in one bit. But there you go. So good luck with your planning if it's your very first Camino. I hope you can get out and walk it soon. Who knows? Not sure we'll be walking in 2021, maybe in 2022. I'm planning my next one for 2022, and maybe it'll have to slip to 23. Who knows? We'll have to see how everything goes with COVID. But do jump on and have a look at the Gronte website. Lots of fun looking at the different Caminos and all the different sort of options for different length stages and where you can stay and so on. So there you go. Maybe if you are a bit of an expert on Caminos, and I certainly do not claim to be one, but if you have walked other routes, if you've found other websites that you've found really useful for planning purposes, do comment down below and share those, and I'm sure people would love to jump on and see those as well. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.